After the Spanish conquest, centralized Inca rule fragmented across the Andes.
Cusco, once the political center of the Inca Empire, became a major colonial city under Spanish rule.
In Cusco, many colonial structures were built using or above earlier Inca stonework.
After losing Cusco, members of the Inca royal line maintained a reduced state in Vilcabamba. Vilcabamba became the center of the Neo-Inca state, which survived for several decades after the conquest.
In 1572, Spanish forces defeated the Neo-Inca state in Vilcabamba.
The capture and execution of Tupac Amaru I marked the end of independent Inca dynastic rule. The former Inca realm was incorporated into the institutions of Spanish colonial rule.
Some indigenous nobles retained limited status under colonial law, though their political power was sharply reduced. In early colonial Peru, the encomienda linked conquest to tribute and labor demands placed on indigenous communities. Colonial authorities required many Andean communities to provide tribute in goods, labor, or money. Colonial authorities reorganized many communities into planned settlements known as reducciones.
Spanish authorities adapted earlier Andean labor obligations into the colonial mita, especially for mining and related work.
For many communities, colonial labor obligations meant travel far from home to major mining zones. Silver production in the Andes became a major source of wealth for the Spanish Empire. In many areas, agricultural terraces built in the Inca period continued to be used after the conquest. Political change did not eliminate long-established Andean agricultural knowledge.
Spanish rule included sustained efforts to spread Catholicism across the former Inca realm.
Some places of earlier ritual importance were redefined under colonial Christianity. Despite conversion campaigns, some earlier Andean practices continued in adapted forms.
Quechua continued to be widely spoken in the colonial Andes.
The post-conquest Andes developed into a colonial society, structured by hierarchy, ethnic categories, and unequal access to power.
European livestock altered land use and rural life in many parts of the Andes. Epidemic disease contributed to major population decline in the Andes during the colonial period. Conquest, disease, and labor demands disrupted settlement patterns and older systems of exchange. Colonial Cusco developed over the earlier capital of the Inca state. Inca stonework remained visible in colonial Cusco and still survives today. Textile traditions continued after the conquest, though production was increasingly shaped by colonial demands and exchange. Long-established Andean crops remained essential to everyday life after the conquest. Many routes created in the Inca period continued to be used under colonial rule. Indigenous labor was essential to the construction and maintenance of colonial infrastructure in the Andes. Many indigenous communities used colonial legal systems to defend land, labor rights, and status. Colonial rule altered land control and increased pressure on communal resources in many Andean areas.
Over time, haciendas became important in parts of the Andes, reshaping rural labor and landholding. In many communities, public religious life came to combine Catholic forms with local Andean practices.
Knowledge of the Inca past survived not only in chronicles, but also in oral tradition.
Colonial rule in the Andes was repeatedly challenged by unrest and rebellion.
Claims of Inca descent continued to matter in parts of colonial Andean society.
Much of the surviving written record about the Incas comes from colonial-era authors with different perspectives and agendas.
Over time, some Inca sites remained in use, while others fell into partial ruin.
Machu Picchu did not become a major center of colonial administration and remained relatively isolated. The conquest transformed Andean political authority, social organization, and cultural life, rather than eliminating them entirely.
For centuries after the conquest, Andean societies continued under colonial conditions that were changing, uneven, and deeply hierarchical. The end of Spanish colonial rule did not restore the Inca state, but memory of the Inca past remained influential.
In modern Peru, the legacy of the Inca world survives in archaeology, language, identity, and public memory. Quechua remains a living language in the Andes and one of the strongest continuities linking the present to the Inca world.
Inca engineering survived the fall of the state and remains visible across the Andes today. The Incas disappeared as a ruling empire, but not as peoples, languages, memories, or cultural legacies. After the conquest, the Andes lost an imperial state, a ruling dynasty, and many institutional foundations of Inca political life.
What continued was not the Inca Empire, but Andean peoples, languages, landscape,